Hello everybody, it's Marcy, and I'm here today with another experiment. In my last experiment, as you may recall, I used freezer paper and ironed my napkin on top of it, which gave me a great linen feel on this side with paper that can be written on the other side, on the uncoated side. Another video I've seen recently, and again, not my idea by any means, and I can't remember where I saw it. Sometimes I just remember the very basics of an idea and store it back, and I don't know where I saw it, is to use your napkin, but instead of Mod Podging your napkin directly to your piece, you put the Mod Podge on first, let it dry, and then iron the napkin on it. So the theory behind it is you've got a flat surface after the Mod Podge is dry, and so you can get a flat image more easily than using the wet Mod Podge and just decoupaging the napkin on. I don't mind the decoupage with the wet Mod Podge. In fact, I kind of enjoy it at times. But we're going to give this a try. So I'm going to use, here I've got a file folder or a cutoff from a file folder that I attached a piece of music paper to, because the one thing I do like about the wet decoupage is seeing what's beneath it through it. So I'm going to use this with the piece of music paper. I've got a library catalog card here, and I've got a playing card that I sanded. I sanded both sides, got rid of the gloss, so we're going to see how that works. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to spread Mod Podge I have no idea how much, how thick it needs to be, nothing. And I think what's going to happen is when you put the hot iron to the Mod Podge, it's basically going to melt it, is my suspicion. I think that's what it's got to be. But what I'm really curious about is whether or not you get the see-through, the transparency that you do when you do wet decoupaging. And I'm not being very precious here. I'm just trying to be sure I have Mod Podge covering the entire thing. That. So this one is not really going to be any less messy than just decoupaging your napkin straight on, but we'll see if it's flatter. That's what I'm curious about, is I can understand how it would iron down flatter, but I'm curious to know whether it's got the transparency that napkins do when they're Mod Podged directly. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm going to let those dry, and when those are dry, I will be back and we will get started. Okay, I'm back and my Mod Podged pieces are dry. And so I need to get the napkin ready. There's layer one. Here's the second layer. And I don't think I'm going to have enough room for the playing card in the parts I want to use on here, so I got a piece of another napkin. So I will go ahead and get it ready. Layer one, two, all right. So let's see how this works. I think I'm going to do them just one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to start with my music covered. Would help if it was turned right side up. My music covered tag, and I really want this bird bath. In the center of that tag. So now, supposedly, you just iron it down. Well, I can tell you if it does stick, it does become more translucent. And it appears to be stuck down. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do my library catalog card next. The only thing I can kind of smell it scorching a little bit, so I may be leaving my iron on too long. Or not moving it enough. Let's see if that... Okay, that was a much shorter time and I moved it around more, and I think I need to get this corner a little better. Okay, I may just not have had that corner Mod Podged very well. But it does, I will say, it does give you, you still have that kind of linen type feel as when you use the freezer paper or the cling wrap. It is very translucent, which I like. Let me go ahead and do this playing card. And that seemed to have worked as well. So, the only thing I will caution on this one, and it was probably my doing, I probably should have put a piece of parchment paper over the top of it. But my iron is so hot, it was trying to scorch the napkin. But I think, and I even had a piece of parchment paper sitting there, I just didn't use it. But I think that would have prevented that. And then you do have a perfectly flat decoupage on your piece. So let me cut these out real quick. And I will save these scraps of napkin for use on something else. Now that one corner, that's the only corner that has not stuck. So I'm assuming that I just did not have Mod Podge on that very corner. So, one good thing about this is, since it does give you the translucency like the wet Mod Podge does, if you find that your Mod Podge leaves your items sticky, this might be a really good alternative to just throw the Mod Podge on, let it dry, and then put the napkin on top of it and iron, and that way the glue is under the napkin. Sorry, I'm cutting and having to concentrate on cutting. Yes, I'm that single-minded. Okay, and then that will turn into a tag. So I'm actually quite pleased with that. I don't even know what else to say about that. I mean, it's, in one way, it's a little more work because you have to Mod Podge and then you have to pull your iron out. But I must admit, I do love the feel of that napkin on top of the stuff. That linen-y, I don't even know how to describe that feel. And I'm assuming, you know, the other problem is when you Mod Podge the stuff down, sometimes the Mod Podge doesn't want to take your ink real well, but I'm assuming, since it is still paper on top, that it probably, yeah, it takes the inking just fine. And normally I can get my Mod Podge to take the ink, it just takes a little more work. So, but that, because it's just on top, it takes it just fine. So I'm very pleased with that. I think of between the freezer paper, the napkin on the freezer paper, And the napkin using the cling wrap, which I've not done here, but you can see that in several places. I actually think if I was going to do something other than the normal decoupage with the wet Mod Podge, I think this would actually be my favorite. And again, I'm not sure exactly how or why it works. I have to assume that it just melts after the Mod Podge dry, it just sort of melts the Mod Podge. Sort of like heat and bond. So I really like that. Let me know what you think. This method I probably will be using again. The others, maybe not. Well, printing on the fabric, yes. But between the cling wrap and the freezer paper, maybe not. I think I'd actually rather do this on, even if I was doing a full sheet, I think I would rather do this method than the freezer paper. Partially because I'm not a huge fan of white. So I can put it on, I could do it on a piece of coffee dyed paper if I wanted to. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm very pleased with this method, and I'd be interested to know what you think. So that's it for now. That's the end of experiment 3, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.